I will have a go look there. I think we could bookmark. Yes. Well, that's Kellogg system. It's well made, this star map.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm your host for today, Lore Maker Will Weisbaum, your third favorite lore maker. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Kellogg system, which is quite exciting, and it's the best system to start your day off with. So let's go ahead and do a search. Oh, let's do a route actually. Let's go from Earth all the way to Kellogg. Get that going. And today I'm going to be taking my Herald, so we're going to go small. Let's calculate the route. 10 jumps or 5 jumps? 5 jumps, please. Safety be damned. Let's view that route. So we're exiting out of Sol. Going to hop on through Croshaw. Zip on through Null. Cross through Vega. Oh, those poor people. End up in Virgil, which is a military classified. I'm starting to rethink taking the shortest route. And then from there, we're going to jump on through the Kellogg Junction. And here we are. Welcome to the Kellogg system. Starting off, it is a UE developing system, and it's protected by the Fair Chance Act. For those of you who don't know, the Fair Chance Act is an initiative started to protect planets that have sapient or sentient species developing on them, and it's to make sure that they're allowed to grow and not interfered with. This came about after a world was terraformed after it was discovered that it had a developing culture on it and they were completely wiped out. So now the UE goes out.
Yes, I have to look my upload to YouTube. I will not stop the video.
The star at the center, G-type main sequence yellow dwarf star. And there are 6 planets in Kellogg, and the system is around 33 AU. And we got a green band, fairly small compared to how big the system is, at 0.9 AU, and it goes all the way up to 1.3 AU. So there you go. And the main focus of the system, what really gets people excited about Kellogg, are probably its 2 inhabited worlds, which are Zeiss over here, which is the main focus of the Fair Chance Act. That is where a developing species is. We'll talk more about that. And then all the way out here, we have Quarterdeck, which is the infamous prison planet. And so between those two, that's the main heart of the system. But before we dive into that, we're going to take a look through the rest of the system. So let's start over here at Kellogg 1. This little red guy you can see in the map, it's all red and burning hot because it's so close to the sun that its entire surface is molten lava. And it is a terrestrial lava planet, and what ends up happening is it has these huge eruptions, and they're so violent that stuff actually makes it like high up into the atmosphere. Depending on the rotation of the planet, sometimes they can form into cool off rapidly and form rock debris, or you could have basically lava rainstorms coming down on you. So it is a very dangerous planet to visit. The whole system overall was discovered in 2811 by a nav jumper named
Yes, my upload has stopped again.
He dedicated his life to the discovery of new systems. This was the only one he managed to do. And it was towards the end of his career, and his dream was always to settle down in the system that he discovered. And unfortunately, that wasn't meant to be the case here. Because of it becoming part of the Fair Chance Act, he was not allowed to live in the system, even though he petitioned to be able to do so. What finally sealed the deal, though, was that he was able to name the system Kellogg after his former mentor and partner who passed away shortly before the discovery, so it's named in honor of them, which is quite a touching tribute, I think. So while he didn't get to live there, at least he got to do that. Now we looked at Kellogg 1, Kellogg 3 is over here. Now this is a smog planet. It is uninhabitable in its current state, and it won't be terraformed because of the Fair Chance Act. Out of all the worlds, it's the most neglected because, you know, at least between Zeiss and Quarterdeck, you have those, and then Kellogg 5 has its own thing going, and Kellogg 4, but Kellogg 3, nothing really going on. So this is the one favored out of all of them by smugglers and criminals who are holding them to operate in hideout in Kellogg. From there, we can take a look at Kellogg 4. Kellogg 4 is a super Earth. It is covered in copious resources, and a lot of people want to mine those resources, but there's still ongoing debate about how best to handle it. There's even been petitions to say that the prisoners of Quarterdeck should be allowed to open up mining operations there to generate profit for the UEE. Private companies want a chance, but so far no permits have been handed out and has remained untouched, other than by some rogue individuals who sneak onto the planet and try to mine in stealth. Kellogg 5 is a gas dwarf planet, which is fairly unusual. It is not a gas giant because it has a rocky core, and it is only one of few gas dwarfs that can be found in the UEE. At first, it was very much like Kellogg 4 in that no industry was allowed, but because of the increased cost in shipping quantum fuel out to support Quarterdeck and Zeiss, it was eventually allowed to open a few refineries around the planet. So those are operating now to provide fuel to the ships operating for the UE in the system. So now that we got those out of the way, let's go head into the heart of the system and check out Zeiss. Over here. Now, Zeiss is a terrestrial rocky planet. It is covered in mostly oceans, warm oceans, and jungles. And I say covered in mostly, and it's got various terrains, but that is the predominant features when you look at it from space. The planet itself, Zeiss, is named after the first creature that was discovered by scientists doing the initial surveys. It was a 14-eyed insect, and Xi is the 14th letter of the Greek alphabet, so pluralization of that ended up carrying on the name of the planet overall. It's now known as Zeiss. The reason the world received Fair Chance Act designation was because of a primitive hominid-like species called orms who live in the planet's northern region. They are one of the fastest developing species that are under the Fair Chance world, and in the past century, their society complexity and text level has just really increased as scientists have been observing them. It's quite exciting for the researchers working here. Now, while few people have seen worms outside of vids, there's another creature from Zeiss that has been seen the UEE over, and those are the flow pets. In the early 30th century, some smugglers managed to collect a few of these friendly creatures and get them off world. Their hopes were because they were very easy to breed, they had short lifespans, and they were very protein dense, that they would make good source of food. But unfortunately, they discovered quickly that toxic amino acid that was inside the pet couldn't be bred out of them, so they were inedible. But in the domestication,
So it's 4 a.m. in the morning, the day after Christmas, the 25th December. I think we have 27 minutes left. We can maybe take one more, but that depends how long it is. But I will continue tomorrow. I will not close my laptop. I will make it sleep. I just sleep my laptop. Slumber.
Friendly little organism.
Not close and close computer, close programs. Just get some hours sleep, then I will continue tomorrow.
UEE tried to crack down on him because it was a bad thing to kind of turn a blind eye to a creature that was smuggled off a fair chance world. So people were nervous that when they started issuing fines and arresting people associated with
I need a shaving and a shower too.
A lot of people just released their flow pet out onto the streets, and fortunately the flow pets are really easily able to adapt to a wide variety of locations, and they were well suited to cities. So now you have large stray populations on flow pets on many planets across the UEE. Since they have become so common and there are more flow pets now living outside of Zeiss than there are on the world itself, the UEE has turned back the policy, and now it is legal to own flow pets once again. Floating nearby Zeiss is the orbital platform Pegasus, which is used as the ground base for research and science operations, as well as housing the military personnel who protect the planet from outside influence. And the military personnel here rotate commonly between serving here and going over and serving the quarterdeck, this being considered the much nicer place to work. So it's kind of standard duty where you do a few months here, a few months over at quarterdeck. There is an overlook that provides a great view of the planet below, and that's kind of the main socializing hub on the station. If you're traveling here, you want to make sure that you have the proper authorization if you're contracting to deliver supplies or civilian personnel to the station. Otherwise, you're going to get harassed. And actually leaving the station, there is a lot of security, and they want to make sure that you're not leaving with any unauthorized samples or the like, because there's a lot of samples stored aboard the station, and there's been smuggling in the past. So now when you're leaving, you do a very thorough search of your vessel before you head out. From there, we can head on over to quarterdeck. Quarterdeck is a terrestrial ice planet. The reason why quarterdeck was chosen to become a prison planet was once the whole system was going to be designated for scientific research, but that was before the 2 jump points to Vandal space were discovered in the system. There's one to Virgil over here, and there's one to Vector over here, and that made the system a more dangerous one as Vandal raiding parties began to show up. At first, they thought they were going to have to increase their military operations here, but a senator, Daniela Agron, suggested that rather than just doing military operations, they can convert Kellogg 6 into a prison planet, and such a facility would not only solve the security concerns, but it would be able to generate its own money thanks to building an antimatter refinery there. And so that was, after much debate, it was approved. And it was seen as a win-win because not many planets want to host antimatter facilities due to the risk involved. but it was considered safe because quarterdeck was so far away from the rest of the system, and it was a safe enough distance away from Zeiss, so the plans went ahead. The presence of the quarterdeck in the system has made Kellogg one of the busier fair chance systems, in that there's a steady stream of people coming through for non-research reasons. One of the things that makes it so suited to be a prison planet is the fact that Kellogg 6 is so cold. This frozen world was seen as a way to prevent escape, because people, if they got outside of the facilities, would quickly very much be in trouble from the environmental conditions. At least that was the idea. There have been several successful escapes over the years. One famous case recently was a prisoner escaped and then hid out on Kellogg 3 and was trying to avoid detection, but unfortunately they got stuck on the world and no one knew they were there, and they managed to survive for a few months off their supplies on their ship before they had to send up an emergency beacon, and almost perished, but were recaptured by authorities. Quarterdeck, as I mentioned, has a full antimatter processing facility, and prisoners work there in order to get reduced sentences. Very recently, Senator Herron from Ellis tried to introduce a bill that would make working in the refinery mandatory to help improve costs of the facility. And then at the same time, there's even senators who are proposing closing the system, like Gadaveris from Coral, because he considered it a security risk for the UE to rely on antimatter from a world so close to Vandal space. Nearby to Quarterdeck, at its Lagrange point, is the Justice Star, and the Justice Star is the main entry point into Quarterdeck. All ships arriving at Quarterdeck are supposed to go through the Justice Star, and they have a security system set up in place where they can accept in criminals, process them, and send them down to Quarterdeck. A lot of bounty hunters bring prisoners directly there to be processed. So there's a lot of traffic that way. Oddly enough, with the security of the Justice Star and Quarterdeck and Pegasus Station, there is a lot of sectors that have very high security, but they're all kind of around these focal points, whereas the rest of the system is kind of lower security. And there's been a few cases recently where, because the system has the illusion of high security, that like researchers and like often go out.
So 20 minutes left on the memory card.
Outlaws that got very bold and planted themselves in the system and been preying upon.
Can maybe take one more.
Stealing their very expensive
It depends how long it is.
So there's been kind of a rethinking and a pushback there to get more security to the ships flying through, kind of.
But let's do that. Why not?
Of Kellogg. And that's about it for the system. So on one end you have cutting-edge research and science.
I just need to sleep 5-6 hours, and then I'm good.
Working away in dangerous antimatter refineries, so it's got this neat dichotomy to it that's going to be really fun to explore further once we get it in game. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of Lore Makers, and thank you to all the backers out there for helping make this game possible, and thank you to all the subscribers for supporting content like this. And I will see you around the Lore Makers.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.
Two-wheel system? No. That's 21 minutes, 22 minutes, and I have to look few minutes myself, so we cannot do that. But I will just continue tomorrow. Have a little more look of this. I'm not sure how to use this star map, but yes, that's the Kellogg. And you just scroll out and you right click and you can turn it left, turn around. Yes, that's the Viking. Viking have nothing. Have jump points. Classified military. Vagabonds. That's military. No planets. Jump on. I don't know how to. Okay, population. Economic. Yes, I have clicked wrong. Yes, that's economic. Freeds. But I don't know how this routes. Yes, back to yes. Holiday promotion. Give the gifts. Star Citizen Starter Pack plus enter your 2 holidays. Happy holidays. Let's gift cards.